Hello again, I am Blunty, and I have been playing the New World Alpha test, the closed alpha test for, well, several months now, actually. So I'm not allowed to say much about the specifics of the state of the game and things like that, even as it relates to today's news that I woke up to, that the actual launch, which was supposed to be in about 6 weeks or so, next month, but is now being delayed into next year. For those of you who would like to comment before watching the entire video, my question of the day to you is this. Do you play MMOs? What MMO do you play? What style of MMO would you like to play? Sword and sorcery, sci-fi, somewhere in between? Something more survival focused, something more PvP focused? What's your flavor of MMO? What's your perfect soup of MMO ingredients? I wouldn't ordinarily make a video about a game being delayed. It happens all the time. In fact, this is the second time New World has been delayed. But in the context of this particular game, the way the gaming community and sort of some of my peers here on YouTube who talk about gaming and stuff like that have reacted to this versus my own experience versus what happened recently with Amazon Game Studios' other game, Crucible, there's a little bit more to unpack here, and I find it kind of an interesting angle of attack for some discussion. So again, hello, I am Blunty. If you haven't subscribed or belled or commented, do all those things. If you want to comment about the subject talking about, please wait until the end of the video. We've got enough information. If you just want to comment and say, hey Blunty, you're doing a great job, keep it up, then go for that, I suppose. All right, so let's go through the Dev Diaries update here and see what they had to say for themselves about this delay. With August 25th launch approaching, we've been scrutinizing our feature list, taking input from our alpha audience, and listening to what they enjoyed or didn't about the current game. We're incredibly grateful for all the support and suggestions from our alpha players, ranging from the folks who spent thousands of hours in the new world to those who just sampled. It's all valuable. And again, I can't talk much about this, but I can tell you I'm somewhere in the middle there. I haven't spent thousands of hours. I haven't just sampled either. And I can tell you for a fact they are listening to the audience out there. They are listening to the players in the alpha tests out there. They have made significant changes based on our feedback. In fact, some of the stuff I suggested the dev team has been actioned on already. So, you know, this is a genuine sort of back and forth between the player base they've got already in their alpha test and the developers, and they are listening, and there's a conversation happening, and there is action happening about the direction the game is taking. They continue. I'm proud of the hard work the team has done, making the game ready for launch with the features intended for release. We also have a list of features that we plan to start working on once we were in live development. That is, once it's released and the ongoing update procedure starts happening. Because it is an MMO, of course, and MMO games always evolve over time. World of Warcraft is a very different game today than it was when it launched 15 years ago. And we saw that come into very sharp focus with the recent release of WoW Classic, where they put out a version that was equivalent to the launch status of the game in most ways. When we examined feedback we received over the last several months from our alpha audience, we saw the players like the game, and they would like to see even more of it. In particular, we want to ensure the most dedicated players have plenty of middle and endgame experiences as they venture through Eternium. That's something that I'm not allowed to talk about because that involves the actual flow of the game itself, but yeah, trying to ensure the most dedicated players have plenty of middle and end-game experiences is probably a smart thing to do for an MMO in general, and for this game. We want our players to feel completely immersed in the game, and to know that our studio stands for quality and lasting gameplay you can trust. And that means added time to get things where we want them before we fully release. Giggity. Couldn't help myself. As a result, full release, come on. As a result, we will be changing our launch date and correspondingly our final beta test. So for those who pre-ordered the game, put money down, there was supposed to be a beta test happening, I think, by the end of this month. They're now moving that to spring 2021. That's a big shift. That's a big delay. We don't make this decision lightly, and we have urgency about getting the game to you as quickly as possible at the best quality, with some additions that will make the experience even better. We're passionate about the game, and want to add more features, and boilerplate, wider audience, thank our community. For our beta sign-up and pre-order customers to play the full game in the New World in its current state for a limited time, starting on August 25th. So that would have been its regular, originally scheduled launch date. Well, not originally scheduled, but until today, its launch date. We will send an email directly to those customers detailing appropriate blah, 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 blah. So I watched a couple of other takes on this from a couple of other YouTubers out there, one of which who sort of specializes in uh, covering MMO stuff, and they were quite pissy about it, quite bitter about it. Obviously, not having played the game themselves, they're not part of the alpha, so maybe they're a little bit jealous. I don't know, but they were pretty pissy about this and pretty dismissive of this. And given what happened to Crucible, also from Amazon Game Studios, but from a very different team of developers, by the way, just the same publisher. So let's get that straight for a start. These aren't the same teams. But Crucible launched, and it was terrible. I played it for like 4 or 5 hours live on stream to give it a go the first time. It was just awful. It was so generic and pathetic and Me Too and copy paste. And on the other hand, it's obviously, they intended it to be something, and then they changed it last minute to be something else, and nothing fit. The gameplay style didn't fit with the size of the map, and there was just it was a terrible experience, and it was so bad and so poorly received, and the player base dipped so low. In fact, just before they withdrew it, I saw that the average player base on Steam was like 140 people or something ridiculous like that. 140 people. They just pulled back. They went, we're unreleasing Crucible. It can be anywhere from rejiggering the game from the ground up to be what they hope people will like, all the way to, well, they unreleased it, and now they're just hoping people forget about it, and it will just eventually fade away into the histories of gaming. I do not think that is going to happen with New World. I honestly do think they're going to keep hammering away at it. It's out there as a live game right now. Alpha players are testing it, and beta players are going to give it a go. It'll be interesting to see what happens with the NDA. Because if they're going to give beta players, the people who pre-ordered it, a go at this, do they also have to agree to the same NDA as alpha players do? And or when that happens, does the NDA that I've been under fall apart? How much gameplay is going to be out there? Are people going to be live streaming? Are people going to be prevented from live streaming? Are there going to be sort of issues about them copy striking shit about this game, and how they stop that? And one way or the other, the cork's going to come out of the bottle, and a lot of stuff about this game is going to flat out the door come the end of August. And I think that's a good thing, because, again, coming back to some of the reactions I've seen of people who haven't played this game, there seems to be an overwhelmingly negative reaction to this, that, well, I've heard this about the game, and I've heard the game sucks, and I've heard it's this, and I've heard it's boring, and I heard this, and a lot of this I heard stuff. And one of my fellow YouTubers was talking about this. He said, everybody I know who plays it. I don't think he knows anybody who plays it, but when he says that, what he means is everything I've read on Reddit and on the forums. Well, for a start, if you're not part of the alpha, you shouldn't have access to the official forums anyway. So that's probably a lie. But let's just assume he's just been looking at the Reddit and sort of getting the feel of the community from Reddit. Well, number one, that's a stupid thing to do. Going to Reddit, of all places, to get the pulse of a community for a game is just idiotic. Number one, Reddit is a cesspool of idiot children. Number two, loud people, the loudest people in any gaming community, are always the unhappy ones. People who are happy are just over here playing the game because they're happy playing the game. Number two, people who are happy playing the game and are part of the alpha audience don't talk about it because they don't want their access taken away because they're happy playing it. If they start talking about the game, they risk having their account deleted and removed from them, access removed, because that's what the NDA entails. You can have a go at this, you can give us feedback, but don't talk about it, or else. That's boiling down the NDA. And people who do like the game don't want that to happen because they want to keep playing the game and keep contributing to the progress and growth of this game, getting it ready for launch. People who are unhappy about it probably don't want to play the game anyway, so they go, well, who cares if my access to the alpha gets taken away? I'm not playing this game anyway, I'm not enjoying it. So the echo chamber on Reddit that you're hearing, the people who are talking about it, are only the people who are upset about it in the first place. You have no idea how big the size of the population is that are enjoying it. I do. I'm not allowed to talk about it, but I do because I log into the game and I see what people are talking about it in the in-game chat. The people who are actually into the game, I see what they're saying about it. I see how many people are in the game at any one time. I see what these people are doing in the game. I see the kind of stuff they want to be doing in the game. They're talking about it in the in-game chat. Again, I can't say any of that because I don't want my access taken away. But being out there as a content creator, fronting like you know what the community is feeling because you've read a few Reddit posts from some unhappy people who maybe are or are not genuinely happy. Maybe they're just there to try and throw a rock in the water, because that happens too. It's the internet. People say things just to get reactions out of people all the time. It's foolish, it's irresponsible, and it's stupid. All of that said, yes, the game needs a delay. The game as it stands, I don't think will have been received as well as they would hoped it would have been if it did release on schedule. Again, I'm super closed off on what I can say about this, but what I can say is I know for a fact there are people out there enjoying it. I also know for a fact that it could be better, but that could be said about any game, couldn't it? All games could be better in some way. Even the best game in the universe could be better if it was only just this, if they did this, if they changed this. So yeah, unusually large delay. And given the difficulties of working on a game at the moment with the whole lockdown situation, a lot of people working from home, which slows down a lot of the normal processes, slows down everything from getting people into meetings to communication to just sharing bits of, just even moving files back and forth becomes a bigger deal if you're not in the same office on the same internet and things like that. So that slows down everything. So I think with this much larger delay, they're just giving themselves some extra padding to get that right. They also might be distancing themselves from several other games that are quite big deals. So if they just delay till the end of this year, that's a very noisy environment with which to be in. Because there are a lot of big deal games releasing near the end of this year. So leapfrogging into a nice big padded area into 2021 is probably the smarter decision. Because this is a long-term game. This is an MMO. The idea for this game is to be around for years and years and years. Whether or not they're successful in that, I don't know. Very few MMOs are. But I do think they've learned a very harsh lesson with Crucible, in that it's not always a good idea to push something out the door too early. Because if the backlash is so severe, if you've missed the mark by a big enough margin, people may never come back to that game. If they did that with New World, that's a bigger deal, just because of the type of game it is. I don't think they expected Crucible to be a huge thing anyway, because there is so much competition out in that competitive, battle royale style game. That isn't to say there isn't competition out there for MMOs, especially sword and sorcery MMOs like this, because I can think of one rather big game out there that everybody competes with, and most of the other MMOs out there that are doing well are in this sort of genre. There's a couple of MMOs, space, sci-fi MMOs that I've got my eye on. Maybe I'll make some videos about those next week, because I've just been digging into a bit over the last couple of days. And quite frankly, personally speaking, I like sci-fi a little bit more than I like sword and sorcery. But I'm quite content to keep diving into New World every now and again. And that's what I've been doing. I've been plopping in. I've started a new character a couple of times, plopping in, seeing what the early game progress is like, and seeing what the middle game grind is like, and things like that, and just sort of getting a sense for the flow of the game a couple of different times. But I haven't been playing it all day, every day, or I haven't been playing it every evening and things like that. And I have been popping feedback to the devs. So we'll see what happens. But to those of you out there who are claiming that, everybody hates this game because I saw it on Reddit, stupid. Anyway, that's pretty much all I wanted to. I just wanted to sort of release about that, because it was just kind of frustrating seeing people talk about stuff in certain ways and not really stepping back for a bit of perspective on what's going on. Hopefully I provided a pointer to a direction you could step in to get some perspective on this. But I'm interested in hearing your thoughts about it. What have you heard about this game? Do you know anyone who plays? Have you talked to them about it? Have they told you much? Because they're not supposed to. Thanks for watching. I am Blunty. We'll catch you next time. Thank you as always to my beautiful, I can't speak this morning, should have warmed up my voice, beautiful patrons up there. Well, not all of them are beautiful. Some of them are ordinary looking, but in spirit they're beautiful, because they're helpful, lovely people who go above and beyond.